Hello friends, Miss Brown here. My friends, hello, it's Miss Brown here. Hello friends, and Miss Brown here. You are in for a treat. I'm so excited. It looks like we are ready to go. Which book will Miss Brown read? Miss Brown read, Miss Brown read. Which book will Miss Brown read? I wonder which book. Which book will Miss Brown read? Miss Brown read, Miss Brown read. Which book will Miss Brown read? I wonder what's the book? Hello friends, my name is Miss Brown and you're here with me at Storytime with Miss Brown. Now today, friends, I'm bringing to you another wonderful book by Lionni. I've read a couple of his books before. I'm going to continue reading his books because I really enjoy them. Before we get started and before I tell you the name of the book, I do need to make sure that you do one thing. Who knows what that one thing is? Yes, you turn on those listening ears. Go ahead, turn them on, and it looks like everybody has them on. So now I get to tell you the title of the book. The name of the book that we're reading today is called The Biggest House in the World by Lionni. Oh my goodness, I'm noticing something about this cover. What do you notice about this cover? Yeah, I noticed the same thing. I see a snail. And now, the title is called The Biggest House in the World. I wonder why it's called The Biggest House in the World. I hope you're wondering that too. Why is it called The Biggest House in the World? And there's a snail right here. So, I wonder what it's gonna be about. Shall we get started? Let's! Some snails lived on a juicy cabbage. They moved gently around, carrying their houses from leaf to leaf in search of a tender spot to nibble on. So snails carry their houses. One day, a little snail said to his father, "When I grow up, I want to have the biggest house in the world." "That is silly," said his father, who happened to be the wisest snail on the cabbage. "Some things are better small." And he told this story. Once upon a time, a little snail, just like you, said to his father, "When I grow up, I want to have the biggest house in the world." "Some things are better small," said his father. "Keep your house light and easy to carry." That seems like good advice. But the little snail would not listen, and hidden in the shade of a large cabbage leaf, he twisted and twitched this way and that until he discovered how to make his house grow. Whoa, would you look at that? It grew and grew, and the snails on the cabbage said, "You surely have the biggest house in the world." The little snail kept on twisting and twitching, right? Until his house was as big as a melon. Whoa, look at that big house. Then, by moving his tail swiftly from left to right, he learned to grow large, pointed bulges. Oh my goodness. And by squeezing and pushing, and by wishing very hard, he was able to add bright colors and beautiful designs. Wow, that is one beautiful house. Now, he knew that his was the biggest and the most beautiful house in the whole world. He was proud and happy. What do you think is going to happen next? What do you think is going to happen next? A swarm of butterflies flew overhead. "Look," one of them said, "a cathedral." "No," said another, "it's a circus." They never guessed that what they were looking at was the house of a snail. Of course not, because it doesn't look like a snail's house anymore. And a family of frogs on their way to a distant pond stopped in awe. "Never," they later told some cousins, "never have you seen such an amazing sight. An ordinary little snail with a house like a birthday cake. Oh my goodness, it does look like a birthday cake a little bit, doesn't it? Nice and colorful. One day, after they had eaten all the leaves and only a few knobby stems were left, the snails moved to another cabbage. But the little snail, alas, couldn't move. His house was much too heavy. Oh no. What do you think's gonna happen? Everyone's moving except him. He was left behind, and with nothing to eat, he slowly faded away. Nothing remained but the house, and that too, little by little, crumbled until nothing remained at all. That was the end of the story. The little snail was almost in tears. Oh my goodness. So remember, the father snail at the beginning was telling a story to the little snail to get him to not want his house to grow, right? So now we're back to these two characters that were at the beginning of the story. So now the story is over, right? But then he remembered his own house. I shall keep it small, he thought, and when I grow up, I shall go wherever I please. And so one day, light and joyous, he went on to see the world. Some leaves fluttered lightly in the breeze, and others hung heavily to the ground. Where the dark earth had split, crystals glittered in the early sun. There were polka-dotted mushrooms and towery stems from which little flowers seemed to wave. There was a pine cone lying in the lacy shade of ferns, and pebbles in a nest of sand, smooth and round like the eggs of the turtle dove. Lichen clung to the rocks and bark to the trees. The tender buds were sweet and cool with the morning dew. The little snail was very happy. There he is. The seasons came and went, but the snail never forgot the story his father had told him. And when someone asked, "How come you have such a small house?" he would tell the story of the biggest house in the world. The end. I hope that you enjoyed this book, The Biggest House in the World. The little snail learned a lesson in this book. What lesson did the little snail learn? Tell your grown-up. I'm listening. Yeah, so in the beginning of the book, the little snail was talking to his father, and he wanted to make his house bigger. But his father gave him some sound advice. Do you remember what that advice was? Yeah, to keep his house small so that he can move around. And then he chose to tell him a story about a snail that did have the biggest house in the world. But then what happened to that snail's house? Eventually, the snail couldn't move around, right? And then his shell came apart, or his house came apart, which is crazy. So what did the little snail learn about your house? Yeah, just keep it light so that you can move around easily, so you can be free, right? That's a really important lesson. I sure hope that you enjoyed this book, and I hope that it inspires you to live light and free, just like this little snail. Until next time, have the best day ever. Okay. All right, Miss Brown, over and out. Goodbye.